Marie-José. I'm so excited to be here today to talk about something I hate. I'm going to talk about something I absolutely despise. It's a question that I've always dreaded being asked. So Esha, tell me, what do you want to be when you grow up? The good news, I feel like I can finally answer this question. But I've also realized that the answer to this question doesn't actually matter. When I was a kid, I had a bunch of different ideas of what I thought I wanted to do, inspired by many different events, as I'm sure you guys can relate. Some examples were, I remember watching TV with my mom. Princess Diana was on. She was working a crowd. I remember how excited the crowd was to see her. She was able to impact so many people, and I was just so amazed. I wanted to be a princess too. But then I also wanted to be the Prime Minister of Canada. And I also wanted to be the next Michael Dell. Our first computer was a Dell, and I remember my dad teaching me about their inventory management system. I was floored by their business model. Of course, back then I didn't know it was called a business model, but I was floored, and I thought Michael Dell was innovative, competitive, he was a leader. I remember when we received our first computer, it was all set up. The first thing I did was opened up Netscape internet browser, typed in www.yahoo.com. I turned to my parents and said, what should I search? This was just so cool, so cool. And then in my final year of high school, I remember my guidance counselor asking me, so Esha, what are your plans for next year? What do you want to be? I had no clue. I felt like if I said Michael Dell or Prime Minister of Canada, I wouldn't have been taken as seriously. And I also didn't think that these titles were achievable in just a few months, so I knew I needed a plan. So I ventured into business school, which I ended up loving, especially after I picked my major, which was international business. And Algonquin's great because they have a great partnership with FIT, actually. I learned so much about international logistics, cultural differences to consider when exporting abroad, really great tactical knowledge. And I got to apply it through great projects too, so a really great program. But not only did I learn about Incoterms and Adam Smith's Invisible Hand, also I learned discipline. I got to start building my network, and I discovered my passion. Business, especially international business, people, and building things, or entrepreneurship. So while a student, I started up my first company, and I still remember the day we received the key to our office, the day we received funding, the day we received our first paycheck with our company name on it, the company name that we made up. It was fascinating. It was like, I imagine, I don't have any kids, like having a baby. It was a great feeling. After graduation, I ventured into a few other businesses, and I learned so much by doing, even more by the mistakes that I made. Currently working on a new startup focused on international markets, so we actually fit into the trend that Marie-José was talking about. We will be using strategic alliances and getting into secondary regions rather than big kind of brick-up markets. Very excited about that. All to say, I would have never imagined doing all the cool things that I've had the chance to do. I don't think we would have imagined all the things that we've had a chance to do and that we'll get to do had we not embraced the unknown or been okay with uncertainty. If we had decided that we would only get into print or start a company that makes VCRs that rewind faster, we'd be wiped out of existence today by social media sites and the Blu-ray player. So after years and years of trying to come up with a good answer to this question that I so very much hate, I feel like I have an answer. So ask me what I want to be when I grow up.
Why do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, I know I do not want to be a doctor because I have a phobia of blood and hospitals. I'm not going to be a bodybuilder for obvious reasons. I'm not going to be an accountant. Are there any accountants in the room? Okay, good, because I feel like it's the most boring thing. And I'm sure they find the things I do boring too. So, but just like when I was a kid, collecting frogs and worms on my street with kids. Robert's looking at me funny, but who didn't do that? Anyone else collect frogs and worms? Well, it's fun. When my favorite actors were Cookie Monster and Oscar the Grouch, when I drove my parents nuts with all the questions I had, I'm going to stay curious, I'm going to stay naive with goal setting and dreaming, and I'm going to continue working hard, and I'm going to stay hungry and stay foolish. Thank you.